Her sneakers were already over the edge, toes hanging in empty air, wind whipping her hair across her face. 30 floors below, traffic lights blinked like tiny stars. She whispered something to the night and leaned forward. A hand shot out of the darkness and grabbed her hoodie. A stranger's voice cracked and desperate said, "Don't jump. If that moment already has your heart racing, stay with us here on Kindness Teles. Subscribe, like the video, and share your thoughts in the comments, because stories like this remind us how one small act of kindness can change everything. The man who grabbed her wasn't a hero. At least, he didn't feel like one. He was 43, exhausted, and so broke he had started counting the dollars left in his checking account like they were breaths. His company, once praised in business magazines as a rising star in clean energy tech, was sinking fast. Investors were pulling out. Employees were quitting. Lawsuits were piling up. Every day felt like watching a slow car crash in real time. He had stayed late at the office again that night, staring at spreadsheets until the numbers blurred. The building's top floor had a small rooftop garden that hardly anyone used. It was the only place where the city noise softened into a low hum. Sometimes he went up there just to breathe. He told himself he needed air. Truth was, he needed silence from the voice in his head that kept saying, "You failed them. You failed everyone." The elevator ride up felt heavier than usual. His tie hung loose around his neck. His phone buzzed with 3 missed calls from the bank and 1 from his ex-wife about late child support. He muted it and shoved it in his pocket. When the doors opened, cold wind rushed in. And that's when he saw her. At first, she looked like a shadow near the edge. A small figure, hoodie too big, arms wrapped around herself. For a split second he thought maybe she was just looking at the view. People did that sometimes. Then she stepped onto the ledge. His heart slammed so hard it hurt. He didn't think. Didn't plan. Didn't say anything clever or heroic. He just ran. By the time she leaned forward, he was close enough to see the tears on her cheeks. Close enough to hear her whisper, "I'm sorry." His hand shot out and grabbed the back of her hoodie. "Don't jump," he said, breathless, voice breaking. "Please. Just, don't." She struggled at first, not violently, just tired, like someone trying to slip out of a coat. "Let me go," she muttered. "It's okay. It's better this way." "No," he said. "It's not." The word came out sharper than he expected. Almost angry. He pulled her back onto the rooftop, both of them collapsing onto the concrete. For a few seconds they just lay there, breathing hard, the wind roaring past. Up close, she looked younger than he thought. Maybe 20. Maybe less. Her face was pale, lips chapped, eyes swollen from crying. One hand rested protectively over her stomach. That's when he noticed the curve beneath her sweatshirt. She was pregnant. Something twisted inside his chest. He sat up slowly. "Hey," he said gently. "Talk to me. What's your name?" She didn't answer. She just stared at the ground. He tried again. "Do you have someone I can call? Your family?" She let out a small, bitter laugh. "No one's coming." They sat there in silence, the city lights flickering below. He suddenly felt ridiculous in his expensive shoes and wrinkled suit, sitting on a cold rooftop next to a girl who had almost disappeared forever. He took off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. She didn't resist. After a while, she spoke. "I lost my job last month. The diner closed. My boyfriend left when I told him I was pregnant. I've been sleeping in my car. It got towed yesterday." Her voice trembled but didn't break. "I don't have money. I don't have anywhere to go. I can't even take care of myself. How am I supposed to take care of a baby?" He listened. Really listened. It hit him how different their problems were, yet how similar they felt. Both drowning. Both pretending they were fine. both too ashamed to ask for help. "I run a company," he said quietly. She glanced at him, confused. "Well, technically I still do," he added with a sad smile. "But it's falling apart. I might lose everything this month. My house. My savings. My reputation. Sometimes I feel like I'm standing on my own ledge." She studied him like she didn't expect honesty from a stranger in a suit. "I came up here tonight," he admitted, "because I didn't want anyone to see me fall apart." The word surprised him. He hadn't told anyone that before. "For what it's worth," he said, "I'm really glad you didn't jump. Even if you hate me for grabbing you." She shook her head slowly. "I don't hate you." They talked for almost an hour. About small things at first. Favorite foods. Music. The way the city smelled after rain. Gradually, her voice softened. The tightness in her shoulders eased. Finally, he said, "Come downstairs. I'll call you a ride. We'll figure something out." She hesitated. "Why would you help me?" He thought about it. "Because no one helped me when I needed it. Because I don't want you to feel as alone as I do. Because if you jump, I'll never forget it." Instead, he just said, "Because someone should." He booked her a room at a cheap but clean motel near the office and gave her enough cash for a few days of food. It wasn't much, but it was what he could spare. Before she left, she looked at him like she wanted to say something important, then just whispered, "Thank you, for seeing me." He went home that night strangely lighter. The next morning, chaos returned. Another investor pulled out. His board scheduled an emergency meeting. His CFO warned they might not make payroll next month. By lunchtime, he was ready to give up again. Then his phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. It was her. She had sent a simple photo. A paper cup of coffee and a small ultrasound printout. Under it she wrote, "Went to the clinic today. Baby's healthy. I'm going to try. Thank you for last night." He stared at that message for a long time. "I'm going to try." Something about those words hit harder than any motivational speech. If she could try, with nothing, how could he quit with so much? That afternoon, instead of canceling meetings, he called every last investor personally. He admitted mistakes. Asked for time. Proposed a smaller, humbler plan. No big promises. Just survival. For the first time in months, he stopped pretending everything was perfect. He told the truth. A few people hung up. But a few didn't. One former mentor agreed to bridge funding. Another offered a partnership instead of pulling out. It wasn't glamorous, but it was enough to keep the lights on. Weeks passed. He kept checking on her. Helped her connect with a local shelter that supported young mothers. Drove her to a job fair one Saturday. She found part-time work at a bookstore. They never made it complicated. Just two people showing up for each other. One rainy afternoon, months later, she asked him to meet her at the hospital. He rushed there, heart pounding, thinking something was wrong. Instead, she was sitting up in bed, tired but smiling, holding a tiny bundle wrapped in pink and white. "She's here," she said softly. He stepped closer, afraid to even breathe. The baby's fingers curled around his thumb, unbelievably small and warm. "I named her Hope," she said. "Because that's what you gave me." He swallowed hard, blinking back tears he didn't want to show. In that quiet hospital room, surrounded by beeping machines and the faint smell of antiseptic, his problems didn't feel as heavy. The company still struggled. Bills still waited. But something inside him had shifted. He realized success wasn't the headlines or the stock price. It was this. A life still here because he reached out his hand. Years later, he would sometimes think about that night on the rooftop. How close everything came to ending. How easy it would have been to stay in the elevator, to mind his own business, to look away. One small choice. One step forward instead of back. His company never became a giant, but it stabilized. It provided jobs. It did honest work. And every year on the little girl's birthday, he got a card with crayon drawings and messy handwriting that called him her roof uncle. He kept every single one. Because sometimes the biggest rescues aren't dramatic or loud. They're just a tired person saying, "Don't jump," and meaning it with their whole heart. If there's anything this story leaves us with, it's the reminder that you never know what someone else is carrying, or how much your presence might matter. A coat, a ride, a conversation, a hand reaching out in the dark can ripple further than you ever imagine. So be gentle. Check in on people. And when you see someone standing too close to their edge, don't walk past. Your kindness might be the very thing that gives them the courage to try one more day. If you've ever experienced a moment like that, share it in the comments. Your story might be the hope someone else needs tonight.